ever get that feeling? Like you're meeting your partner's family for the first time,
Uh-huh.
and it's less welcome to the family and more like they're sizing you up for a compatibility test.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you're on a dating show,
Uh-huh.
but the prize is their approval, not a rose ceremony.
It's so true.
Yeah.
That feeling of being under the microscope,
Right.
wanting to make a good impression, it's universal.
Yeah.
And it speaks to this deep need we have.
Yes.
Not just for our partner's love, but their families too.
It's so true. And that is exactly what we're diving into today.
Okay.
You sent us this super interesting transcript from the Relationship Reflections podcast, all about family dynamics and relationships.
Right.
And it really got me thinking about why this whole family approval thing matters so much.
Well, they make some really solid points in the podcast, right?
Totally.
Talking about those kind of standard reasons like cultural expectations, needing that family support system, and then, of course, the potential for conflict if things aren't good.
Yeah.
All very valid.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I feel like there's also this, like, deeper layer to it, like something more, I don't know, primal almost. Am I?
Oh, not at all.
Oh, okay, good.
Think about it. Humans, we are hardwired for connection, right?
Yeah.
Belonging. It's in our DNA. For most of human history, being part of a close group meant survival.
Yeah.
Safety, shared resources, all of it.
Totally.
So fast forward to today, when someone new enters that picture, that established dynamic, it's almost like it triggers this ancient alarm system in our brains. Like, hold on, how does this new person impact our tribe, our sense of belonging?
So are you saying, like, disapproving in-laws or even just hesitant ones are channeling their inner, like, cave person protecting their turf?
Yes, exactly.
I kind of love that visual.
And it makes sense, right? If you think about in-group, out-group bias, right?
Yeah.
That's that tendency to favor our own tribe. It helps explain why family approval can be such a huge deal. It's about protecting what's familiar, what feels safe.
Makes total sense, especially, like, around the holidays.
Oh, absolutely.
Everyone's defenses are up.
Oh, yeah.
You got to prove you belong before you're in the inner circle.
Exactly. And we can't forget the emotional side of this either.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
when we care about someone deeply,
Yeah.
their family's opinions, they start to feel like mirrors, right? Like they're reflecting back on us.
Oh, yeah.
So if they reject our partner, it stings. It can feel like a rejection of our own judgment, our values.
Yeah. Ouch. That is, wow. It's true. No wonder this whole family approval thing gets so complicated. And you know what I thought was really interesting when I was listening to Relationship Reflections is their expert, they were great.
Yeah.
But they were coming at it from, like, a relationship counseling angle.
Right, right.
Which, super valuable.
Oh, for sure.
But you bring something totally different to the table.
Oh, yeah.
With your background.
Anthropology.
Yes. Okay, so tell me, how does, like, studying ancient tribes and stuff relate to finding love in the 21st century?
You'd be surprised.
Okay, so anthropology time, spill tea. How does studying, like, ancient tribes and all that relate to finding love nowadays?
Well, for most of human history,
Yeah.
family, it wasn't just about, like, blood relations, you know? It was about survival, right? Like, imagine a time before grocery stores and social safety nets and all that. Your family unit, which was often way bigger than what we think of today, that was everything. Your safety net, your resource pool, they kept the social order.
Wow. So choosing a partner back then, that must have been, like, a huge deal. Was it all, like, arranged marriages to benefit the tribe and all that?
Exactly. Marriage wasn't always about romantic love like we think of it today.
Right.
It was about, making alliances between these big kinship groups, strengthening ties, sharing those crucial resources, making sure the community could keep going. They were way more connected back then than we are now.
That's wild. It makes sense, though, right? Like, no wonder family opinions mattered so much. Their survival was literally tied together.
Exactly. And even though our world has changed so much since then, those instincts, those echoes from our past, they're still part of us, influencing how we see relationships. The need to belong, wanting that approval from the people closest to us. Like, it's in our DNA. But here's where things get interesting. This whole family approval make or break a relationship thing, that's not universal.
Well, really, are you telling me there are places where, like, meeting the parents isn't a big deal?
Big time. Anthropology shows us just how different human societies are.
Right.
In some cultures, it's all about individual choice.
Interesting.
Picking a partner, that's like the ultimate personal decision.
Yeah.
Families are expected to respect that, offer support, not judgment.
So it's more like, hey, this is my person, we're happy, let's celebrate.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Right. Then you've got other cultures where group harmony, that's what matters most.
Okay.
In those cultures, family input isn't just welcome, it's basically required. Like you actively seek it out.
Wow.
It's a group decision. Everyone's thoughts and feelings are taken into consideration.
That's so interesting. So there's no right way to handle this whole family approval thing.
Nope. What flies in one place, in one family, it might not in another. It all depends on your background, cultural influences, family history, even just your personalities.
So easy to forget that, right? Like,
Yeah.
we think everyone approaches relationships the same way, but
Right.
it's obviously way more complicated than that.
It is, and this ties right back to those listener stories from Relationship Reflections.
Oh, yeah, right.
One, the family comes around, happy ending, yay.
Right.
The other one, the listener chooses their own happiness, even without that approval. But now, thinking about those different cultural ideas, those deep down instincts we talked about.
It's like those stories become even more, I don't know, like real or something.
Yes.
Because what works for one couple might totally backfire for another. No guarantees in love.
Exactly. And neither choice is automatically right or wrong. There's beauty in honoring traditions, finding that harmony.
Right.
And there's also incredible strength in choosing your own path, even if it ruffles some feathers along the way.
It's such a tough balance. Which I guess leads us to the big question. How do we actually navigate all of this in a way that feels right, authentic and empowering?
That's where we move from why does this matter to, okay, what do we do about it? And thankfully, Relationship Reflections had some good advice there. We can definitely build on it.
Okay, so what kind of advice are we talking? Give us the goods. Because we've gone from like cave people to global relationship trends. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, our listeners, you included, we're all out here trying to figure this stuff out in real life.
Totally. And Relationship Reflections, they talked about communication, setting boundaries, finding compromises.
Yeah.
All important, but I think we can go deeper.
Yeah.
Like Relationship Advice 2.0.
Ooh, I like that. Relationship Advice 2.0. Hit me with it. What does that actually look like?
Well, they mentioned communication, right?
Yeah.
But I'm talking about communication 2.0. Don't just like talk to your partner, actually strategize together.
Okay.
Map out both of your family dynamics.
So like, are we drawing a family tree diagram or something?
You could. But really, it's about asking yourself some tough questions.
Okay.
Like,
Right.
who calls the shots in each family?
Okay.
What are their values? What are their love languages even? And super important, what's their history with relationships been like?
Right.
Any big blow-ups in the past?
Yeah.
Disappointments? Stuff that might be, coloring how they see things now.
So true. We never think about our families having like relationship baggage, but they totally do.
Exactly. And once you understand those unspoken expectations, those anxieties people might not even say out loud, then you can start to anticipate problems, craft your message the right way. It's like knowing the lay of the land before you set off hiking.
Makes sense. And speaking of tricky terrain, what about boundaries? Relationship Reflections talked about that too?
Yeah.
But setting boundaries with family, especially when you're trying to win them over, that's tough.
It can be. Yeah. But here's a different way to think about it that's helped me. It's not about being anti-family. It's about being pro your relationship.
Oh, I like that.
Like, you wouldn't let someone dictate your career, right?
Yeah.
Or your finances.
Right.
Your relationship, same thing. You, too, get to decide how much influence other people's opinions have.
It's like saying, we love you, but this is our sandcastle. We're building it over here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But how do you actually put those boundaries into practice?
Yeah, especially if your family's used to having a lot of say.
It's tough, for
Yeah.
sure. But it starts with communication. Being clear but kind. Let them know you value what they think.
Right.
But the big decisions, those are up to you as a couple. And then, be ready to hold your ground, even if it means some awkward conversations or even, like, temporary disagreements.
Which I guess that's where compromise comes in, right? Like, where can you bend, where you got to stand firm?
Exactly. And I thought the original podcast had it right when they said this isn't a one-time conversation. It's an ongoing thing. Families change. You two will change. It's about being flexible, being patient. And honestly, a little humor helps.
Oh, for sure. Got to be able to laugh at the whole thing sometimes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But on a more serious note, sometimes, and this is important to remember, families don't come around, no matter what you do.
That's got to be so tough.
It is, yeah. And we don't want to give anyone false hope. Sometimes the healthiest choice is to agree to disagree, respectfully, of course, and just focus on building that strong foundation with your partner.
So true. And while those happy ending stories are great,
Oh, yeah.
it's good to remember they're not always realistic.
And at the end of the day, you got to choose what feels right for your relationship, for your values, even if it's not what your family or even society expects.
Perfectly said. And on that note, to our listener who's been on this wild ride with us through cave person brains and different cultures and everything in between, if family approval isn't the be-all, end-all of a happy relationship, then what is? What matters most to you and your partner? What are your dreams, your values, those unshakable things that'll make your relationship strong? Keep thinking about those questions, keep having those deep dives, and remember, your relationship, your rules. We'll see you next time.